Good morning. It is Thursday. I can't believe we're in August, and we're rolling right along here. A couple things I want you to be aware of, Columbus Road people. We now have an 11 o'clock service for the general public. So not only do we have a family service at 11, but we have a service for everyone else. Reason being is we want our numbers to be low so that we're able to create incredible distance between each other and yet keep going forward. So 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings, if that's an option for you. Been reading a book from a friend actually that wrote the book, and so I thought, well, I better read it because he's been a friend for many years. His name is Mike Hess. He's actually the director, or he oversees the General Association of Regular Baptist Churches. And so he wrote this book this last year called No Contest. I think you can see that, No Contest, Overcoming a Competitive Spirit. And it really is written to ministry people primarily, though it can apply to everyone. Pastors sometimes can have incredible competitive spirits, and so it's timely for sure in the days that we live, but it also, I think, is a great read for anyone that is looking to think about overcoming a competitive spirit. So it's something that we don't talk about often because we live in the United States and everybody and everything is about competition, winning, who has the most, who won the most, who has the most. Most is a pretty big deal. And so you maybe have not considered your own competitive spirit. So I'm in a section of the book, and I thought, man, this is good stuff to evaluate. And he gives 6 ways or reasons why we see other people as competition. So I thought I'd take a minute and just cover that with you, and I think you'll find it to be helpful. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where that you were maybe competing with a sibling, and really oddly so, because you're from the same family, and it shouldn't be that families compete, but rather that they come together. I learned a long time ago from a mentor of mine that it's not good to really promote competition among your family. And I had really come to a conclusion, and people know this about me, that I really don't like to play games where that there are winners and losers in the home, because I think it really brings out the worst in people and not the best. And so, usually my kids are wanting me to play, and that competitive spirit in all of us can take over. So why do we see others as the competition? Here are 6 things to consider this morning. The first one is this: we aim for the wrong standards. So we're looking to please men, or we're longing to satisfy something inside of us to fulfill and be content in the temporary, or in overcoming or winning against someone else. And oftentimes our standard for what we really are to be about is in the wrong direction. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 9, it says, "Therefore, we also have as our ambition, whether at home or absent, to be pleasing to Him." And so really there is a shift in terms of being competitive and aiming for things that are temporary to focusing on the goal of pleasing God, and that being our ambition or our standard. The second thing that we oftentimes struggle with is pride. And I believe that most of us have a good level of pride that we are continually battling and fighting. Whether it's admitting that we're wrong, or giving in, or giving up. Pride is a very big part of competition. We don't like to be defeated, and because we live in a world where that there's people that are always trying to get one over on us, pride can be one of those things that really can shut us down. And so we struggle with pride sometimes, and that's why we compete against other people. We're insecure inside, and therefore we try to compensate. Proverbs 16:18, you're familiar with this verse. It says, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before stumbling." The third thing that we oftentimes struggle with when it relates to others and competing against them is we question God's wisdom. So why did they end up in a position where that they have what they have, or they have the abilities that they have? And so we compete against others because we question God's wisdom in how things are laid out. I know for pastors, and it's something that if you're going to be in the ministry for very long, you have to get over, or you're not going to be in the ministry, is why is one guy's ministry apparently succeeding or growing when yours is not? Or why do they have these resources and you don't? There's a comparison thing that happens all the time with ministers. And I think oftentimes it's rooted in the question of what God is doing or his wisdom in a situation. See, when we find ourselves really focused in on what God has done and how he's moving us, directing us, we get more focused on what his call is in our situation, and it's unique to someone else's. And also what I found is that most of the time, what appears to be on the outside is not what is really going on. There are a lot of facades in this world. There's a lot of backdrops where that we think that it's one way, when in reality, when you get behind the scenes, it's different. Romans 11:33 says this, "Oh, the depths of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of God, how unsearchable are his judgments and unfathomable his ways." Just when we think that things are bottoming out and there is no hope, something dramatically changes. And vice versa. Maybe someone's on the top of the world and then instantly something occurs, a circumstance, and they're no longer in that position. See, we have to question God's wisdom. We don't question God's wisdom in terms of our life situation. A fourth thing is we rebel against God's sovereign rule. So oftentimes we see others as competition because we question what God is doing. We question, is he in control? And if he is in control, then why are these things happening? Psalms 145:3 says, "Great is the Lord and highly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable." I think at this point you're already capturing these 6 points, and that is that it's a focus issue. I compete against others. I look at them as competition when I don't have my eyes on the one that I am aiming to please, the one that I know that is in control, the one that I know is a good God, which kind of comes to the fifth thing. We fail to believe that God is truly good, that God is for me, and the events and circumstances of my life he has sovereignly orchestrated for his glory and my good. Psalm 23:6, "Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." The sixth thing that sometimes we fail to see is that we are satisfied fully in God alone. In Psalm 16:11 it says, "You will make known to me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. In your right hand there are pleasures forever." And so when we are fully satisfied with God, then we don't have the time, or the focus is not on others and how that maybe they're doing better, or that we are threatened by what they're doing. We're actually right where we need to be, and we're satisfied with God. We're satisfied with the situation that we're in, and we're less apt to look around and think, well, they have something that I don't have, or they have an advantage, a talent, a skill, a relationship that I want, I desire, and so on. So it's a topic that we don't talk about often because it really hits to a lot of times the core of where we're at, which is if we're not focused on pleasing God, if we're not there in the place of trying to become like him, then what we do is we have an audience of men, and therefore we're looking to please them or to be validated or affirmed by those around us through what we have or what we do. And I just thought it was a good moment for us to think about, why am I so competitive and particularly look at other people as the competition. Well, here we go. Here are the 6 ways in which that we sometimes get it wrong. We aim for the wrong standard. We struggle with pride. We question God's wisdom. We rebel against God's sovereign rule. We fail to believe God is truly good, and we fail to be satisfied in God alone. My prayer for all of us today is that we find ourselves in a position where that we are embracing who God is and trying to please Him, and try to move away from looking at other people as the competition. Have a great Thursday, and we will see you Sunday.